Hello and welcome everyone to the first menstrual talk held by the Black Foxes. Hello, welcome everyone. Are we live? Yes, we're live. Welcome to the first talk about menstruation. Several of the Black Foxes are going to be talking about our experiences and products and stuff that we use, but to get us started, we'll read off a disclaimer. We would like to disclose that we are not experts in this topic and we do not consider this information to be certified medical advice. We are not equipped to speak to every experience with menstruation on the gender spectrum. This discussion is about our own experiences with menstruation and what we have learned. Our goal is to simply foster a space to openly discuss in the most inclusive way what is considered to be a taboo or inappropriate topic. We hope that this encourages folks to speak more open and honestly with, with one another so that we can support each other. We also hope to continue this discussion with a series of talks in the future where we can invite experts and folks of different experiences to provide more insight. Today, we will mostly be discussing products, their pros and cons, and how we can plan and pack for being outside while menstruating. And I would like to introduce the rest of the foxes on this panel. There's myself. My name is Shaquaya Bailey. My pronouns are she, her. I am located in Pittsburgh, PA, also known as Osage land. And my riding style is road, some mountain biking, and just dabbling into gravel and do a little bit of hiking and roller skating.
Hey, my name is Alexa, another one of the Black Foxes here. Thanks, Shay, for that introduction. My pronouns are she, her. I am in Salt Lake City, which is stolen land of the Goshute and Shoshone people, and my riding styles are primarily road and gravel. I'm kind of starting to ride mountain bikes. Hopefully, I'll get more familiar when it starts to warm up. But besides that, I also love to do some hiking and backpacking. So hopefully I can talk about that perspective today.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Shanika Nicole, or you call me Nikki. My pronouns are she, her. I am located in Colorado Springs, Colorado, which is also the Cheyenne land. My riding style is mainly mountain biking, enduro or downhill. I've just gotten into gravel biking and I'm loving it. Hopefully to get more into road biking as well. I like to hike and that's about it.
Hello, it's Aisha here, Aisha McGowan. I am located in Decatur, Georgia, which is on stolen Muskogee land. And I race road bikes and ride any kind of bike I can get my hands on, and also advocate for better representation for people of color. So I'm going to add everybody back here and we can get going.
Hello, hello.
Can you guys hear us clearly and everything? Let us know if not. It's on a delay, so we can keep going, but they'll let us know. Because we'll be
Got it. All right. So I guess just to get started, we could talk about what are some of the first products we used, and maybe what do we use now. I'm gonna pick on Nikki. So when you first started out, what was your go-to product, and what do you use now?
My go-to product was a pad. Experiencing my first cycle, I didn't know anything about it. I did not have the talk with my mom. I've heard like friends talk about them experiencing their periods, and they mentioned how like they use tissue, and that like freaked me out. I'm like, oh my God, like there has to be more things to use other than just tissue. And I didn't know the proper way to like take care of how to change it, when to change it. Well, of course how to change it, but I didn't know how to like when to change it. But as I got older, I asked my sister like, what is it like using a tampon? And I was scared to use it, of course, and then but a tampon is a life changer, and it makes things so much simple now.
What about you, Alexa?
Started out with pads early on. And actually, the first time I used a tampon was at a friend's house in middle school who had a pool. And she was like, well, we should all go swimming. And I was like, oh, but, I'm on my period and I'm wearing pads. And she was like, there's tampons in the cabinet below the sink. You could just go grab one. And I didn't want to be like uncool or seem like I didn't know how to use one. So I was just like, okay. And I spent probably a good half an hour in that bathroom trying to figure it out on my own, just so I could go swimming. And I did. And actually, from that point on, I primarily used tampons. But once I got into college and started studying for geology, and I knew I had to go to remote places for extended periods of time, and it was going to take up a lot of space to pack multiple boxes of tampons, I then resorted to using a menstrual cup. So, and I love it. So I've been using a cup for, I think, about 7 years now. Not the same cup, but I've been using cups.
Those will last for a long time. So I'm sure there are folks who have been using them for 7 years.
Yeah, so that's my deal.
Nice. What about you, Aisha?
I'm pretty sure I started by using like pads, and I don't think I knew how wings worked. And so that was like a Marvel revelation for me when I was like, oh, this is how you keep it from moving around. That's pretty cool. And then eventually I upgraded to like the Tampax with the cardboard applicators, but I didn't know how to use them, and the instructions looked like they were in Greek, so I wasn't removing the applicator. Oh, I couldn't figure out why it was so awful. And I don't know how it just suddenly clicked one day, and I was like, "Oh my god, I get it now." And so then I did use tampons as my like go-to for most of like teenager through adulthood, because I played a lot of sports and pads just were not cutting it for the athletics for me. And I know, guys, I know it was not a shining moment. And then in like 2012, I'll say 2013, maybe, I don't know, Facebook knows, I went to a workshop with We Bike NYC, which is the organization that I was part of at the time. And they had a workshop hosted by Sustainable Cycles. And it was this group that was like, they would do these cross-country bike tours and give informational sessions about sustainable menstrual products. And so that's where I learned about menstrual cups and underpants that were for periods and reusable pads and all that kind of stuff. And so I tried to use a cup for a little bit, and I think it was like a moon cup or something, and it just was not for me. But eventually I discovered that those the disposable ones, now the name is escaping me, they worked really well, and I would use them in conjunction with period underwear for, when I didn't quite get it right. It was like a safeguard. And then eventually I did find a cup that worked well. And so now I use a cup and I use the underwear. Long story, but there we are.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I think my introduction, my mom had to talk with me. And then I was using pads, and she was like, I better not catch you using no tampons. That's for women. So basically, she basically correlated tampons with an active sex life. And basically, if I'm using tampons, I must be having sex, and I want to be doing that. So that was that. And so I was using like pads for quite a while. And at one point, I was actually using them too quickly, and she'd be like, you ain't supposed to just throw them out as soon as you get blood on it. You gotta let it collect some, and then you get rid of it. Because she was like, "You running through these damn pads. What's wrong with you?" if I got money like that. So, because you just see it, you're like, oh, this is an unclean thing, and so you just gotta like, oh, gotta get rid of this. And then she was like, you got to get this together. So I definitely had to have some pad management, uh, a learning experience, and then probably college got to using like tampons, and only the past couple years that I learned about the cup. Actually, I think it was from you, Aisha. You must have posted something on Instagram. And I was like, oh, word, there's a cup. And then I found out they had different sizes. I said, oh, that's what's up. And so, I got two for different types of flow. So it's like, oh, heavy flow, we're going to get the big cup. Or if I'm on a long ride. So then it could hold more. So then I got a smaller one for lighter days. And so that was like super convenient. So that's kind of like my interaction with the menstrual products. And I think I didn't know about the ones that didn't have an applicator until like college as well.
What do you
Because
mean
before
ones
I
that didn't
thought
have an
they,
applicator?
the tampons that didn't have an applicator, it
I'm
was just
sorry,
like the
rewind. I'm gonna
OB.
knock my glasses off. There are tampons that don't have an app. How do you
Yeah,
explain?
it's an OB. I think they sell them. There's probably other ones too, but when I first saw it, I was like, "What is that little white piece of?" It is
How do you
basically
applicate?
so you remove the plastic cellophane off. One time I actually forgot to remove the tip of the plastic off. I had to dig out this piece of plastic. That was not a good look. But anyway, that's probably like TMI. But
Oh
but yeah,
no.
make sure you remove
It's
all the plastic
TMI
off.
here.
Yeah, make sure you remove all the plastic, and it's a tiny little thing. And you just slide it in. Use your finger to go take it all the way to where it needs to go. And yeah, so that's pretty much how it's done. And then, but it still has a string, so you can still pull it out pretty easily. So that's helpful. So you have less weights, which I like those because they pack real small. So if I take a tampon, I always get the non-applicator ones because it's like way
Hmm.
less packaging if you still need to use a tampon. So I found that to be super useful. But yeah, so that was a nice little anecdotal background for everybody. um, so I guess in terms of like biking, I guess I'll start with Alexa. What's your go-to if you're going on a relatively short ride, if you ride at all on your cycle? What are your go-to products?
Well, so I pretty much always use a cup.
Mm.
The only time that I might, yeah, no, that's pretty much all I'll use is a cup. The only time it gets difficult is if it is a slightly longer ride and trying to coordinate like cleaning it gets a little more complicated. But usually, usually it can hold for quite a while or hold a lot. So I don't usually get too worried. And if it does leak, I kind of just let it leak into my chamois. There's a lot of padding in a chamois. They're not necessarily made for free bleeding, but I'm just kind of like, no one's ever going to look on the inside of my chamois, so, or they shouldn't be. So who cares? Yeah, so that's my primary thing. But also, if I am on my period, I'm usually in pain too. So I usually got to take a couple ibuprofen or something with me. Sometimes I also use like CBD bombs that I can just like put down on my pelvis to help alleviate the pain a little bit.
Like some Vicks? Like
No, like a CBD ointment, like a
oh, you said a
salve.
CBD bomb. Okay. I thought you said soothing
Yeah.
bombs. What kind of bombs? I'm listening.
Like a salve. A salve would be the more appropriate term. Yeah. Yeah, just because like sometimes like I can ride while I'm on my cycle, but if the cramps are real bad, sometimes like really wrenching into pedaling can make it almost worse. So yeah, taking something for the pain too is important.
Cool.
Nice. Okay. So for folks who have done a long ride. I know, Alexa, you may have done a long ride, and Aisha, you've also done a long ride. When you've done your long rides, did you have your cycle at all? And what did you do to handle bleeding on a long ride?
So, two short stories. So, like, the longest day I've ever had on a bike was DK in 2018. And I've not so privately discussed how horrible that day was for me. But part of the horribleness of that day was that I got my period during that ride. And I don't think I figured that out until the next, like, until like after. And so I guess my chamois was like my only line of defense there, and it wasn't enough for that long of a situation. So when I got back home and was like cleaning my bike, I was like, oh my God, because it was like a mud and other things, and it was the most disgusting thing I'd ever seen in my life. But it explained why I felt so awful that day. I took several naps in a ditch because I just felt absolutely drained. But also the first race I ever did, the Red Hook, which was also a horrible day, I got my period right before the race. And one of my competitors was like passing by because we were also friends. And she was like, oh, you mad? I'm like, yep, I am real mad. Like, I am not good on, especially like the first day. Is usually I'm like super lethargic and in a lot of pain, and I get the runs, and it's like I can remember distinctly like almost every race where that had happened to me, and I'm just like, come on, like who did I like piss off that this keeps happening, that I'm like trying to race my bike and now I have to like poop every 5 minutes. Like I can't, like this is not aligning with my goals, and so I need some better alignment with the universe or something. But when I'm not caught off guard, usually a cup works really well. A chamois is a nice second line of defense, but my like go-to walking around situation is the cup and two pair of, not at the same time, but I usually keep two pair of period underpants. And that way, like if I'm on a bike, like if I'm bike packing or like doing something, I can just like hand wash one pair and then put on the other and then let them dry. And while bike packing, I'm like hung them off of my bike and let them like flap in the wind to dry. You do, it's whatever. You do what you got to do. But it's definitely doable. And as far as cleaning on the go, I've squirted my water bottle at the cup to kind of give it a little rinsey rinse and put it right back on in. And then you just keep it moving. And it's honestly a lot easier to deal with than like disposable products because you don't have to dispose of anything. Like you don't, I like have to figure out what to do with a tampon because you can't flush. You're not supposed to flush them. I know people do, but you're not supposed to flush them. Or like a pad, it's like hard to like find. Sorry, I just saw Courtney's comment. Yeah, you don't have to find like, it's kind of gross in like traveling as a bike racer. I spend a lot of time in other people's houses, like as a guest. And I'm not the one that takes the trash out. So it's comforting to me as somebody who kind of does get embarrassed about this stuff to not have to like disclose to the world that I'm on my cycle if I don't want to. Like it can be a thing that no one else knows about unless I tell them, because all of the products that I use are pretty, incognito.
When you first like tried menstrual cups, were you like intimidated by them? Because that's how I feel. But I've been doing research and just hearing other people's opinions about menstrual cups. I'm looking forward to trying them out. There's just so many questions like will they get stuck? Like how do you get them out? Like how do they actually work? I just like there's just so much.
For me, I think the biggest thing was like realizing that they come in different sizes. So, I mean, your first purchase might be just buying a few different sizes to see what works best, and then it was a matter of making sure it would like stay in place and not like leak. I think for me, it was harder to, it was harder for me to keep it in there than it was for me to like, for it to get lost, if that makes sense. I think I have more difficulty with actually trying to get it to stay and be in position versus like, oh my gosh, I can't get it out. They do have little like pull tabs on them, similar to how tampons have a string. So it's usually pretty easy to pull it out. But I think, yeah, the first couple of cycles, it was just hard to figure out the perfect way because you kind of have to like fold it and then insert it and then like let it go, or you kind of have to like rotate it so that it like kind of like
that's exactly it though.
yeah. But oh yeah, Amber had a great comment there that like, yeah, usually most brands will have some kind of quiz or something so you can figure out like what the best size is for you. And what might be most comfortable. And it depends on obviously like your cervix, and then it also depends on how heavy your flow is and maybe how often you really want to like have to clean it out. At least the size I have, it's to where I probably, like when I'm having a heavy flow the first 2 days, I usually have to empty it out maybe like twice a day. And then as it goes on, it's like once a day, I'll have to empty it out. But I also like the idea Shay had of like having different sizes so that throughout your cycle you can just like go, move on to a smaller size. I think that's awesome. But yeah, it's just a little bit of trial and error at first. And then of course there's nothing wrong with
trial and error. The first one I had did not fit well. I think they say try it for 3 months, like give it 3 full cycles, because it does take some adjustment. And after 3, I was like, nope, it was like painful. And it, like different cups fit differently is a thing that's really important to know. And some cups are like more rigid and some are softer and more flexible. But the soft cups, those were the disposable ones. They recently rebranded, and I don't know what they're called now, but those worked really, really well for me. It came in like, I think it was like some dumb number of like 11 or like 10 in a pack. So it was just like slightly not enough. And they recommended that you use a new one every day, but I would use 1 per cycle and it was fine. Follow the recommendations, though I'm not a scientist, but like that's what I did. And it was more flexible and it fit me really well. So then I found a permanent cup that was more like that one. And that one, but it doesn't have the pull tab like you were talking. Like it's still like I have a method of how to get it out, but that was like for me the biggest adjustment, like, you know, reaching in my own self and like pulling this thing out.
Sometimes you gotta squat it out. You know?
I mean, pro tip is easiest in the shower, and the cleanup is it's the whole process becomes much easier in the shower. But I have a squatty potty that also helps when I'm at home because you can kind of elevate and scrunch yourself up a little more. And a bidet, I mean, you don't need all of these accessories, but I panic purchased a bidet for the quarantine anyway. And so it just happens to work out. Give it a little rinse and then put it back in. I mean, that is what it's like.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of the shower. Yeah, and if you're testing it, okay.
Nikki, what was your question? Did she freeze?
So once you find that perfect position for the cup, can you feel that it's in there? Do you how does it feel? Like, is it noticeable?
It's how
that you have a cup in
you are with your body, but for me, like, I can only feel it if it's like if I'm like really crampy, like the first day or so for me, then I can feel it more because my, uterus is contracting. You can feel it, you feel more things, but it depends on how in tune you are with your body, whether you can feel it per se. But definitely like if I don't have to, the first couple days for me, I won't even use the cup because of my body, it's contracting and I can actually feel it more. And my body doesn't really like anything in there the first day or so. So if I don't have to, I actually won't use a cup at all because my body is like that. I'll use pads actually. I thought about getting the period drawers or panties. but
Period draws.
I've been in the bathroom actually.
Yes.
Yeah, I have 3 brothers, so we just call everything draws. Everything's draws. No, but but yeah, So I've been wanting to get some actually to test them out. But when I was on like blood thinners, I found that the cup, I was actually flowing through that like it was like running like water, and you'd be like, "Oh shit, it's running out," and then so that wasn't a good look. And then so then I needed to have like something to catch that flow better. And then I wasn't sure how that would work with the period draws with the blood thinners combined because of the flow was coming so quick. I was like, yo, this ain't gonna be the whole this. But they do say they got thicker ones. I just haven't tried it yet. So has anyone here tried the period panties draws?
I got some from Jeff Bezos a couple years ago because they were the ones I could afford at the time. And I still have them. They still work. And it's weird. Like the ones I have, I guess they like absorb it. I don't know. Science it always blows my mind, but I guess it like absorbs it, but there's like some sort of shield underneath that doesn't let it get to your pants. But yeah, they work really well for me. And like the leaking at first was always a problem because I wasn't sure like, if I got it in right, or if your day ends up being a little longer than you thought, or you don't have access to a bathroom as soon as you want to. It's nice to just have that like second layer of security. And I have tried reusable pads. I won some in a raffle, but they weren't like the ones that I had. I didn't like them. I liked the concept, but they didn't have the wings, so they would like shift around, and I did not appreciate that. It's been a couple years, so I know that there's more out there now that probably would work a little better. So I've thought about looking into that. So if y'all who are watching have recommendations for reusable pads, I'm yours.
I do want to follow up just to also answer Nikki's question. I noticed someone commented about whether you can feel the cup or not, and they said if you don't feel it, you're using it right. And I think that's very much how it is for me. Feel it when I'm walking around and doing things. I know, okay, it's not sitting in the right position, and it's probably going to be leaking. So I usually just try to go back to the bathroom and fix it and adjust it to where I know I'm not feeling it. And if you are feeling it, then it might just not be the right shape also. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely good points. Thanks, y'all. I got some other items that maybe didn't talk about as much. We definitely talked about the pads. In the field, ease of use. It's easy to use, but if you're out riding a bike, it's hard to try to put a pad on with a chamois.
I just don't see that working out very well because there's a lot of shifting that happens on a bike.
Yeah. But before I knew better, I did that before.
Yeah. And like some showing it's not a flat surface. So I feel like
I got a saddle sore because So don't
that
do
sounds terrible.
the pads on the chamois shorts on a long ride. That's not a good look. Yeah, that's rough.
You know what's another consideration that nobody talks about? Pubes. Like when you said you got a saddle sore, like that's the first thing that came to my mind of like some folks like trim it all, like shave it all off. Some people let it free flow. But
I
Leave a
guess,
I
does
think
that
little.
get in the way for folks on your period? Does it
I
bother
think for
you?
me, I don't like I've tried every method, done my experimentation there, and I like it to not be too long, but also not completely shaved because I feel like if there's no hair there, then I will get a saddle sore for sure. Oh, and ingrown hairs are the devil. The devil.
Facts. Facts.
Yeah.
The devil. Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
And
Yeah,
I think
agreed.
for tampons, I think I even had to make sure the string was situated right. Because one time I had a string that was in the wrong spot and I got a abrasion. Because, yeah, look, I don't know. It was just weird. So you just gotta, I don't know, everybody's body is sensitive. I guess it was sitting on the side and I guess it just caused an abrasion on like the outer labia. And I was like, no, that's not a good look. So I had to make sure the string was in a good place so I wouldn't
I
have
mean,
any
that's the
issues.
same with like different chamois too. Like, not every chamois ends up well, especially for long rides. Like, I think you can probably get away with any chamois on a shorter ride, but once you start doing long rides, like a cheap chamois or a chamois that just doesn't fit well is you're gonna pay, maybe not pay for it in money, but you are gonna pay for it. As I have learned.
Right? Don't be like us, y'all.
Learn
Yeah,
from
I
our errors.
personally, with the hair thing and the shaming thing, two comments. One, I've tried different methods as well. I used to be an avid sugar waxer, and I used to get everything just everything off, clear off. And I always was under the impression that it was like better for cycling because I'm like, there's no hair, there's nothing to like pull or like irritate like with the chamois. But I learned that if I was going to do that, I definitely couldn't ride my bike for at least like 3 to 4 days after getting it done. Otherwise, it's way more potential for ingrowns and like saddle sores, potential like irritation because your skin is like freshly like
Oh dear.
exfoliated and ripped into. But then I feel like if it's too long, then I gotta use way more chamois butter, which is fine. But then I also still feel like it's more room for or more potential for like tugging and like too much movement of my skin. So I've also found a perfect balance of like just keeping it short at the very least to make it more manageable. Also, I just want to say, if anyone is in the cycling clothing industry, please take notes that like a lot of people asked us questions about chamois for free bleeding, like basically chamois that are like Lynx underwear, like period underwear, and I have not seen it advertised. I know people just do it because chamois are thick, so you can do it until it eventually goes all the way through and just test it and try which chamois holds more. But yeah, no one's like really tried to engineer that, and I think that's something that is a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Everyone who menstruates probably has that problem. So at some point, or menstruates and wears a chamois.
Facts.
Mhm.
Definitely. So for has anyone ever used reusable pads out on the road, like actually traveling, or did you only use them just like on a short jaunt?
What was your question?
Has anyone ever actually used reusable pads on a ride or hiking, or did you only use them like at home testing?
I don't think I ever used them doing an activity. I think it was just like at home or like at work when I had a regular people job. But I don't think I ever did it used it riding a bike or
Okay.
I feel like I felt like I would face the same problems as a disposable pad, so I didn't even bother.
Gotcha. So it looks like, I mean, from our just a brief chat so far, the winner is the menstrual cup, and then the backup is definitely a tampon, tried and true. I
Hard
think
because, oh,
go ahead.
go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say it's hard because for me, I know there are people who can't use cups, like people who have IUDs, and people who are just opposed to having an insertion product. And it's hard because it does seem like it's like the best option for cycling because you're having to wear a chamois and like you can get saddle sores and things. So it's really hard to think of an alternative to that. And
I know they have like sponges and like other things that are equivalent to a reusable tampon. At least this is what's in the back of my mind right now. Like I feel like maybe I saw that at that workshop I did 8 years ago. But there's like something, but that would still be inserting something, right? So I don't know.
yeah.
Like I don't know how well those work with IUDs. I've never had one. But I've heard people have like they have mixed reviews amongst athletes from what I've heard. So the use of an IUD while training. And I know like a lot of people who do like intense training and like high level athletes, a lot of them have issues sometimes where they like don't get their period for months at a time and like other kinds of like things that happen like that, and they have to kind of regroup with a doctor to figure out how to fix it because that's not supposed to be the case. Like I think, again, not a scientist, but I think people can like skip maybe one and that not be too abnormal, because I feel like that used to happen to me when I was a teenager. Like if it was like the start of a new sports season or something, or I would like change up my routine, then it would skip a cycle. But I think if you're skipping multiple cycles, then you need to like talk to somebody about it, because that's not supposed to be the case unless you're doing something deliberately. Like I know I read in Emily Chappell's book, where she talks about when she did the transcontinental race, which is the race across Europe, where there were like some sort of pharmaceutical thing she took to stop her period so she wouldn't even have to deal with it while she was racing. And I didn't even know that was an option. So that was enlightening to me. But so yeah, I think if it's not a deliberate thing that you're doing specifically, then you definitely have to talk to somebody about it. Or at least I would.
And I'd say for like if you don't want to do any insertion, I would say like pads would be tough if you're actually biking, put on the chamois. So the next best thing would be the menstrual underwear, and in which case I think you would want to use chamois cream, because I think when you're wearing underwear and you're doing something athletic, depending on the cut of the underwear, it can actually cause abrasions on the underwear line. So you want to make sure you're like paying attention to how tight the underwear are fitting around your legs. Because if you're riding, I know before I knew better, I wore underwear with chamois shorts back when I was a new cyclist.
I mean, no one tells you not to.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
It is a mistake a lot of people make. You are not alone there.
Yes, I was wearing underwear for a while until I realized that you shouldn't. But if you're in your cycle and you don't want to do insertion, I think the menstrual underwear might be the next best thing. And if you're on a long ride, it might be helpful to take 2 menstrual underwear and throw the other ones in the baggie, the soil, wrap it up, and tuck it in your pocket. At least if it's like a shorter ride. But if you're like on a longer ride, you can just put it in your bag.
I find that like underwear or like beyond menstruating and all of that, like you know how like the little girl underpants that have like the little cutesy elastic on it, that type of underwear like will 1000% give me some sort of like saddle sore or abrasion or something I do not want. So I like the ones that don't have anything on the edges there. And it seems like nowadays most generic underpants come that way, but like the Hanes 6-pack or whatever, they'll have the elastic and you're like, I want to be cheap, but I can't I can't deal with that. So
I wonder if they make like the boy short, which is a terrible name, but the boy short cut underwear that's more like, it's not like the bikini style, but it's actually like more kind of like shorts, if that would actually help.
So they do. The problem with that is because I wear them. I wear men's underwear. So and I also wear the ladies boy cut too. The problem is the ladies boy cut is actually really short and they tend to ride up. So they can still be an abrasion factor. But if you get the men's, if you buy men's athletic draws, I mean boxer briefs.
I love
If
it.
you buy the
the
men's version, they actually come in different lengths. So if you're buying draws for like somebody who wears men's draws, then you can actually get different lengths and they'll accommodate for that. So they actually won't ride up. And so if
They're
you're wanting that won't
measurable.
ride up, it's helpful. And
Okay,
they're more
okay.
breathable. Yeah, they make more athletic for men. They make more athletic styles of underwear for them. So you can get like more breathable stuff and still kind of like make that work. So if you're trying to
It's all
negotiate
covering
that.
butts.
Yeah, and you can still
So
put a pad in
basically,
those.
we need athletic, longer cut, like boy cut, like period underwear, and we also need like period chamois.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
And they
think the
also
pro
make
tip,
like the bib shorts with like thinking about like the length of things. Like they make bib shorts that are different lengths. And like I find that most bib shorts are too long, but they also make like some that are like way too short and they also ride up. And I'm like, I don't need that to happen. Like I like somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere on my thighs.
yeah. And then our little pre-chat, we were talking about the colors of chamois on cycling shorts. So it's a good idea for most folks to have some darker color chamois. So if you do some free bleeding, it makes it easier on the cleanup and it doesn't look as crazy after the fact.
Someone mentioned in the comments earlier that Castelli has a red chamois.
They do.
And that I guess Sugoi also used to have a chamois called the V Control. I don't know what color it was, but maybe they shot their shot at trying to make something for that. I don't.
Yeah, they tried. So we're pretty far into our into our chat. Let's try to hit some of our questions from like Instagram that people plugged in. Let's see. The first one, let's see, chamois. How do you deal with bike pants?
Oh.
I was gonna say, could we actually quickly talk about
yeah,
just kind of going back to like longer days and like being outdoors in the backcountry and not having access to things, kind of touching on like leaving no trace, and just like how, because we're talking about like disposable products and like reusable products and like what those things require. And I think some folks were asking about like, yeah, how do you stick to leave no trace principles and respect the outdoors, while also trying to manage having a cycle?
yeah. I mean, just briefly from skimming, I think Alexa and Aisha bike camped and camps in general probably have more experience. But I think with anything on any ride, take all your trash with you. No matter what you're doing.
Wrappers, anything. Like, whatever you got.
And exactly. And if you're on a trip, a longer hike or whatnot, then you should accommodate for having a trash bag.
Can I make an unnecessary addition to this? So this summer when we were driving, we found that for some reason people were pooping in like everywhere and using toilet paper and leaving it. It was just human poop and toilet paper. Please don't do that. It's so nasty.
So you should dig a hole for your poop.
Just don't do that.
That's tip one, right? Dig a hole for your poop. Um, so anything that comes from the body, you can leave on the land, but you should dig a hole and not do it near a stream, a body of water, because you don't want to pollute the water source. So do it away from that. I forgot what the
Yes, exactly.
directionality. I think Alexa probably correct me, being more
Yeah.
geographically inclined. As to know, like if the water
Usually
is
want to be, I
running.
think it's something like 200 feet directly perpendicular. Well, it depends on the area. It depends on if it's like if you're on like a steep incline next to a river, you definitely want to be like away from that incline. But if it's like just mostly flat land and a stream running through, then I think it's something. I could be wrong here, y'all. I haven't camped in a while, so I haven't freshened up on my guidelines in a while. But some areas, I think it's usually like 200 feet or something, or maybe even just 100 feet from the water source, directly perpendicular. As long as you know it wouldn't, like rain coming through or snowmelt coming through wouldn't like push your waist down into the stream. Then that's the best way to, yeah, as long as you can avoid that. But there's also, I should note, there are also areas where like you have to pack out your human waste as well. And that just depends. There's like just, there's some protected areas, some, like a lot of like national parks or like just protected wildlife, like conservation areas. Like usually it'll, like if you look into the guidelines for the specific area you're going to, they'll usually tell you, but that's like if you go to the Grand Canyon, like you can't leave any waste, but it's also because there's not really places to dig a hole. So it's better to just, you got to take these little, these bags that you can like put your waste into, and carry it out with you. Yeah.
Yeah. In the backup, you can take doggy poop bags too. So if you don't have access to like the human poop ones, just take the doggy poop bags.
Yep.
It's probably cheaper because you can get them on a roll, right?
And then like biodegradable ones and all kinds of dog poop bag options.
That's what I use.
Yeah. And I think,
what else?
I was just gonna say, for like with navigating using a cup, of course water becomes much more necessary because it's easy, like Aisha said, to just like take a water bottle and just squirt directly into the cup, and that's an easy way to rinse it, and it has almost the same effect as a sink. But I have been in situations where I don't have as much access to water, so I'm minimizing that, and usually I'll just take like wet wipes. I always take wet wipes. Bike rides, because I don't trust public bathrooms to actually provide even toilet paper sometimes. So so I always take like a small pack of wet wipes, and I'll even use that just to like wipe it out. And then once I do get access to water, then I'll like actually thoroughly clean it out. And I try, if it's a longer trip where I can carry like a mild soap, like no fragrance, no oil base or anything like that, I'll use that to clean out the cup at least like once a day, so that it's not getting totally gross.
I think it's worth noting though, like you're not required to rinse it out in between. Like if you just take it out, dump it, and you can put it right back in. And the harder part is figuring out somewhere to clean your hands. But you don't have to like thoroughly wash the cup every time you take it out.
Yeah.
Because it's just going back into the same environment. But definitely wash it like daily at least, and definitely give it a real good, clean between cycles if you can.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for between cycles, boil it. It's weird.
It's
weird. It's only weird at first.
It's only weird at first.
And then it becomes less weird. And like I say that as somebody who's like got the maturity level of a child when it comes to stuff like this. like giggling and like hiding in the corner level of maturity, but it gets better. You get used to it. It becomes more natural to you, which is very comforting. So
Yeah. And to answer Naomi's question about where to dispose the blood, very similar to pooping or peeing. Just dig a little hole, at least 6 feet or 6 inches. Sorry, 6 inches, and just bury it underground. I know people make jokes about like bears being able to smell it and everything like that. I don't really know how true that is, and I don't know that that's necessarily tempting an animal to come see what it's about. But yeah, just bury it. And of course, like if I'm using the bathroom somewhere, even like a public restroom, I just do everything in the stall. I just dump it straight into the toilet. Sometimes I'll take a water bottle in there with me. If not, I'll just wipe it with tissue and make sure there's no tissue remnants, and then right back.
Yeah, and I did see in some of reading and preparing for this that if you were out camping on a site and you're packing your waste, you should kind of store your waste in the same way you would store your food, and that you should try to keep it as airtight as possible. And they had a couple good tips about like using tea bag, stuff to put in with it to kind of diffuse the scent a bit. And I think somebody put like crushed up aspirin, but if you're on your period, you're probably taking that aspirin. But
a valuable resource.
But I thought that was helpful. I didn't even know, like, wouldn't even think put like, oh, let me put my tea stuff or whatever. And if you have coffee, maybe put your coffee grounds in there and maybe help kind of diffuse some of the smells that may be emanating from your waste bag. So that's super helpful. Any other comments on the outdoor items, backcountry sort of camping on your period, Alexa?
Carnival would kill me before the bears. Fair. Solid point.
Here's the thing.
I think we gotta address some of the initial questions about like pants and like the underwear and whatnot. But a good one is how do you remove stains? Dun, dun, dun. I got some tips. Just to start out, I definitely, soon as I get done with a ride, I like run in cold water, and I have like OxyClean or Tide or like whatever kind of spray. I just hit that chamois as soon as I get out and take it off. And if you're not trying to use those type of products, you're looking for more natural things. I've done baking soda and peroxide, and I put that on that. I think also you can run your chamois in apple cider vinegar rinse, kind of kill some things, like more natural cleaning products as people are thinking
How hard is it to get the apple cider vinegar scent out after though? That stuff is strong. I can only imagine how long it clings to fabric.
Oh Lord, yeah, that is strong.
You just got a whole nother smell to contend with.
Facts. I ain't say I used that one. I said I just read about that one. I just used the OxyClean spray, and I've used the peroxide and the baking soda thing, just like letting it soak. Those are like some of the methods that I've done. What about y'all?
I think for me, it's more of like a time sensitive thing. Like the longer you wait, the harder it is. But if you like, as soon as you're done with the clothing item, just at least rinse it out pretty good. I usually don't have too much trouble with stains. And that goes with like underwear as well. Like just anything as far as blood stains, I usually, if I can get it rinsed out and washed pretty quickly, then it's okay.
Me, like I've learned that with hydrogen peroxide, you definitely want to use it on light colors because I've learned that it bleaches, darker colors. So I use hydrogen peroxide for light colors, and then vinegar is one thing that I do use, especially for if you can't get the stains out like immediately, and it ends up being like a dried stain. Vinegar and cold water is a good method to get old stains, dried stains out.
Clutch.
I feel like the mob would be able to answer this well.
I like that someone said African black soap actually gets it out. I never would have thought of that.
African black soap will strip everything.
Yeah, I don't use it on my body.
It's a strong soap. It's a good soap. That's that soap. We got soap.
Yeah, I think what's amazing with the cleaning stuff, don't let it sit. Like I see people who they'll ride and they're like, I'm not doing laundry till Saturday, and they like ride on Monday. Can you hear me?
Oh no, we can hear you.
No, we hear you.
but they'll like let that laundry set, but it's really good to like, just like stuff it in the hamper and then like more wet clothes and dirty stuff on this hamper, and it just like becomes this bacteria factory in your hamper, and it be stinking. So like I think even if you're gonna launder your clothes, you should still let them do a quick rinse or just let them hang up and dry out. Because if you let them hang up and dry out, the smell is not as bad. And I know not everyone can do that if you share a household with other people. You want to be respectful, depending on accommodating like your space. But yeah, that's something to think about if you can let it.
When I lived in a place that didn't have laundry facilities, I would literally walk into the shower with everything I already had on and like strip in the shower and hand wash it there if I needed to. Because like I personally smell horrible after any kind of exercise. Like I'll come home and we'll be like, no, just go get in the shower immediately. And I know he's right because I can also smell myself.
It's natural, yeah.
Yeah, I'll like literally just step in the shower with everything on and like take it off while I'm in the shower and hand wash it. At least like for a preliminary wash to make sure that if we don't get to the laundry soon enough, I'm not like letting it just sit knowing that I smelled the way I smelled.
You like marinate your shit?
It's not the best because it's funky.
Let's see. And
the towel trick works really well. Someone said to roll the shorts up in a towel. That's like a good hotel trick too. Like you open the towel flat and you put your wet clothes in them, and then you like wring it around and try and get as much moisture out. It works really well, and it'll help it dry faster overnight. Good tip. Hot tip.
Yeah. Or you like you said, put your panties on the handlebars and let them air dry while you ride.
Do what you gotta do, okay?
Yes.
Yes, those are my draws.
Right, that is amazing. Let's see. We are like running out of time, but we didn't really get to like racing training too much while you're on your period, and we can't really speak to like hormones and the perspective of trans persons and being on your period, nor IUDs really at all. We are not health professionals. Maybe in the future we will be able to bring more folks on to talk about those and direct experiences. And why is it so hard to bike when your period? One of our questions. Could be because cramps, but there's other factors too. I'm sure we could try to do a deeper dive to follow up this conversation. This is the first of many because we don't hear about enough of period talks. Like they should be everywhere. Like half the world is women, or more than half actually. But
and even more menstruate. So
yeah, exactly. So definitely something that should be way more popular. Any other comments from my esteemed thoughts?
last thoughts.
I'm expecting to use a
really,
mystery cup.
Which one do you know where to start? Like, do you have an idea of where you're going to start?
Well, my job sells them, and like the only thing I've seen is a Diva cup, so I may start with that.
That works.
Or if you guys have options, comment.
I mean, everybody's
below.
different. So, like, what works for us might not work for you. So, I think you start there, and then you'll have an idea of where to go next.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, definitely different products if you had different brands.
Yeah,
Because
that's
I
true.
think to speak to Aisha's comment about the thickness of them being different and how easily they bend. But yeah, definitely practice at home, practice in the shower. If you're gonna practice over the toilet, remove the bath rugs because I had a situation where they kind of will spill out, trying to remove the cups. So just kind of imagine that, making sure you got a nice, good area because you can probably mop
Deep
on the
squat.
floor.
That's the
Deep
trick. Deep squat. Like, it should feel very unnatural. And then you're doing it right.
Facts. So we will end on deep squats. No.
yeah.
And we'll definitely take a quiz as well.
Yeah. There's so much information out there, and I think for me, I'm really excited for future talks because I've spent a lot of time during quarantine trying to learn more about nutrition and hormonal balance for myself and for other folks, and so I'm hoping we can talk about that eventually. And I'm thinking of looking into more period underwear and seeing if they make more that are a little bit more ergonomical for, I don't know, long riding, so I don't always have to wear shammies.
Yeah, maybe our next talk should be about nutrition and the period draws, and then just follow up.
Different kinds of draws.
All draws.
All right.
All right, sweet. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. This will be saved and stored on our YouTube channel, and we will have more of these wonderful period talks.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.